I think by now everybody knows about the layoffs that happened over at Microsoft, where they pretty much gutted a whole bunch of stuff that was going on at Xbox. Bunch of game studios shut down, bunch of games canceled, including Forza Motorsport. This game's been going for like 20 years or something, close to 20. Perfect Dark is done. I wonder what's happening with Fable, because isn't the same team that was working on Forza, wasn't they working on Fable? Anyway, Phil Spencer's memo leaked. He should be ashamed. From Bellular News. What's going on with this whole thing? Phil Spencer's kind of a spineless freak.
It took a while to find the right words to begin this video with, but I think we found them. They are the words of Phil Spencer, and I'm just going to say them straight. We have more players, games, and gaming hours than ever before. Our platform, hardware, and game roadmap have never looked stronger. Yeah, Phil Spencer said those. He didn't say them a few months ago, he said them, well, pretty much now. That's how he opened his memo to staff, right before he laid off many thousands of those staff.
I said this before, that it's gonna get worse, and this isn't the last one. I think there's gonna be an even bigger one. Even bigger. Or they will be like, oh shit, man, 9,000 at one time, that's a little bit too many. We're gonna do like 1,000 at a time now. And we're just going to do it once a week for a few weeks. I could see that happening. This is definitely going to get a lot worse. And not just at Microsoft. It's going to be happening all across the AAA gaming space.
You see, this is Xbox's fourth round of layoffs in 18 months. Microsoft stock just hit an all-time high one day before these layoffs. And we can see their reporting. And in that reporting, we see the Xbox division is profitable. So, how can they justify all of these cancelled games, all of these closed studios, and all of these layoffs? Well, we're going to see how they're trying, but I have a sense that most of you think they can't. Xbox haven't been willing to put firm numbers in the impact here, but the total number of layoffs are—
Dude, they never do. They never do. There are no numbers coming from Xbox. They don't report numbers for anything. They don't report numbers for Game Pass especially. So we could find out exactly how successful these games are. Like Avowed.
Across the whole organization of Microsoft is around 9,000 people. That's 4% of the whole company. April had a layoff of about 6,000 people. Now this was mostly within Microsoft's wider structure and management. This week's layoffs have seemingly been focused quite heavily on Xbox. GameFiler reporting that Microsoft would only confirm that Xbox's layoffs were, quote, less than half of—
Dude, somebody down in the comments was trying to argue with me and say that this wasn't happening at Xbox. This was actually Microsoft. Get your facts straight. But I've been hearing from everybody that it was Microsoft laying off a bunch of people at Xbox. Like, come on, man. Telling me to do my research. How about you tell all these other people to do their research? Because I'm just reacting to stuff.
The company's overall layoffs, which is still really bad because that could still mean up to 4,500 people have lost their jobs or are still in the process of learning if they're going to lose their jobs. Because yes, some people don't know. Even, days later as this sort of process rolls on, many people don't know. I know people who don't know. Of course, in many instances, people just found out immediately. And that does bring me to how these were delivered. This has been handled abominably. Basically, information was delivered as each time zone started their day, with staff, of course, being scheduled for meetings and just having access to their tools being turned off, and even hearing about layoffs via social media leaks, faster than from their own teams. And it actually wasn't until very late in the day that the statement from Xbox Studios head Matt Booty eventually leaked out and seemingly put a cap on the total casualty list. But man, it is a long list. 3 announced games have ended their development. Rare's Everwild has been cancelled. That's after a decade in development, and layoffs are impacting that team. Then 35-year company veterans like Greg Mails and Louise O'Connor are planning to leave the company in the wake of that move. Obviously, that's a project that was going nowhere fast, but at least if those people thought it was going somewhere, it's dead.
Yeah, bro, come on. Like, we saw what was going on. We saw what was going on. That Perfect Dark shit, man. And that Fable face, all the faces, like all the women, they just look wrong. And then all the men, I guarantee they look retarded. Not a single good looking one. They're all feminized.
probably for them, it's the right time to just get the hell out. Of course, another game is Perfect Dark.
Yep.
It's been cancelled, and the development studio, The Initiative, is being shuttered entirely, and the staff are being released. Now, Xbox billed it, right, as a quadruple A game. Nice wee testament to hubris. And The Initiative was a studio.
Don't you fucking love it? We're talking about the crash of the AAA gaming space, and all these AAA gaming companies are like, look at this quadruple A game that we're building that's coming out. And we're just like, what? Bro, read the room a little bit. We're talking about AAA gaming is dying, and then you're saying that actually it's so big right now that we added another A. And then they start having to do all these layoffs and shut down these studios and close down these games. It's like, we saw it coming. We saw what was going on. They don't listen to real people anymore. All the real people that give actual criticism that's like telling them they're doing everything wrong, they think we're just haters. They think we're just right-wing extremists. We're political brained. But really, they are the ones who are political brained because they are calling us right-wing extremists when all we're saying is like, hey, this shit ain't working. These characters are ugly. These stories suck and they're bloated. And then you put a storefront in there, it just makes everything shit.
Purpose-built to make such games, to make quadruple A games. I mean, bullshit, right? And of course, it was a total shit show. Perfect Dark underwent significant creative deadlock.
Dude, there's so many people that like don't want this to be happening. They're like, this is very bad for the gaming industry. Yes, it is. And I'm glad we're seeing it. Because it's about time. It's about time that all these companies crumble and everybody's just saying like, this is really bad. Gaming is crashing. Where have you been? Where have you been? We've been saying this the entire time. Ever since COVID. Even before COVID, we were like, hey, this is getting to some weird places. I think this is going to get very bad. And then it got way worse than we could have ever imagined.
There were staff overhauls. It was really the usual AAA, bullshit, but I suppose with another A whacked on for good measure. But we still did see this demo. It was, not really a vertical slice of the game. Bits were staged, but obviously that is a thing with demos. But that's it. It's dead. And this tweet from Xbox really, really does not.
Yeah, that like all these gaming footage. All the gaming footage being fake and like, this isn't what the game is actually gonna look like. This is just a preview. This is not real gameplay. I don't give a shit. I don't believe you. I don't believe anything that you say about a game at all. I just wait for games to come out to see how they are. And I'm gonna talk about the drama and make fun of them if they're morons. Or if I think it looks good, I'll say it looks good. Like Resident Evil 9, that game is, I already know, gonna be fucking incredible. I haven't been burned by a Resident Evil game yet. But, like, I don't trust any of these developers. Especially after things like The Witcher 3, Cyberpunk 2077, both from CD Projekt Red. Both of those were absolute fucking disasters when they launched. And everybody forgets that Witcher 3 was a disaster, and it was. Games like Assassin's Creed Shadows. Games like Avowed, Dragon Age the Veilguard. Like, I don't listen to these companies anymore. I wait for the game to come out. And if I don't think that it's going to be a 10 out of 10, something that I really am going to fucking love, then I'm going to wait for it to be $5 in about 5 years, and I'm just not even going to pay for it. And I might move on by then, and I might not even buy the game at all.
Well, this cancellation also has an impact on another group, and that's co-developer Crystal Dynamics, because they've obviously just lost a humongous contract. Now, you may remember they're also now owned by the Embracer Group, and as you know from the news cycle, Embracer...
Crystal Dynamics, who is that? Is that the Burnout people? Oh no, those are the Tomb Raider people and the Legacy of Kain people. Man, that kind of sucks, actually. But yeah, I was hearing very, very bad things about what was coming in the pipeline, coming down the pipeline for Tomb Raider. Wasn't looking so good.
Are very willing to make deep cuts when they need to. Next, Blizzard Entertainment. Warcraft Rumble is ending content development, and man, that thing was in development for a long-ass time. It obviously wasn't really going anywhere, and with that and other layoffs, it's basically hitting up to 100 staff at Blizzard. Though, I am a little bit wanting to put an asterisk on that. at least from what I've been able to observe, there are some functions that would have been Blizzard traditionally that then sort of moved into like a shared pool with Activision. So it could be that there are many more than just 100 people who work in and around Blizzard stuff that would be impacted by a layoff like this. Now, of course, there's also the topic of games we're never going to see, but we also didn't really hear about. That's because unannounced things have been cancelled. ZeniMax Online Studios were working on Blackbird. Blackbird was a new MMO. It was in development for nearly 8 years.
Another MMO. Another one. And it was in development for 8 years. How about that? That's way too fucking long. Way too long. Remember when games used to take like sometimes less than a year, but mostly it'd be like 2-3 years between a game, like the big games. Sometimes you get small ones in between. Remember the days when everything didn't have to be bigger and better than the last thing all the time? Remember that? Remember when we could have small things here and there? Like we'd have the mainline Mortal Kombat games coming out, and then they'd be like, hey, we got this small game. It's a little bit different. Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. Wasn't very good, still fun enough. And it was different. And it was a smaller game. God of War, you'd have God of War 1, God of War 2, and then over there on the PSP, you'd have Ghosts of Sparta, Chains of Olympus, smaller experiences. Like, we don't get none of that anymore. Everything's got to be bigger and better than the last thing. And I hate it. And then there'll be people like Ubisoft who are like, oh, well, everybody's talking about they want an Assassin's Creed Brotherhood style game. So here's Assassin's Creed Mirage. And it was garbage. It wasn't really garbage, actually. There was some things garbage about it. It was kind of broken. It was mid. And then they were like, well, that didn't work. Let's move on. Forget that ever happened. And nobody even knew that game came out. Nobody knew it. I didn't know until way later when I was like, holy shit. There was an Assassin's Creed game? What? When, where, and how? And why? Why didn't I know about this? And if they would have made 2 or 3 more after that one, I think people would have known that there were some other Assassin's Creed games. And then they were like, you know what, let's go ahead and just change everything. Let's put a magic system in there and make it like based around witchcraft. And call it something weird. Assassin's Creed Hexe. Like, what the fuck? What kind of name is that?
Now it's gone. And with that being cancelled, ZeniMax president Matt Ferrer has announced that he is leaving the company. Because obviously, look at what happened. Then there's a new shooter from the Romeros. Yeah, as in like John Romero of Doom fame. So they were making that game down in Galway under Bethesda, but it's actually had its funding pulled. So this is quite literally a thing where this is an external company, not one of...
It was first announced 3 years ago. Dude, too long. 3 years you've been working on a game, it should be almost coming out. Gone are the days where people care about games that take 8 to 10 years to make. We're done with those. You gotta be a GTA 6. And that is like barely even gonna be something that people want. I think it's gonna break records, but where are we gonna go from there? GTA 7, we're gonna get that in like 15, 20 years?
Owned by Microsoft, who were in development. They had a publishing deal. That deal has now been cancelled. And the Romeros say that they will not be the only project like this. So we know about these layoffs, but there's almost certainly going to be many more layoffs.
Take a year. Take 1 year to make a game. That's how long it should take. And to be finished. And then charge $40, $50 when it comes out. Instead of taking 10 years to make a game, and then you're like, oh, $80, that's not enough to charge for this because we took 10 years to make it and spent $500 million. Like, you're doing it to yourselves. Why?
From companies who are impacted by the ripple effects of all of these cancellations. Now then, of course, there are wider Xbox losses to contend with as well. Windows Central reporting that the core hardware teams have largely avoided the cuts, but then The Verge is reporting that the quality team at the user research division has been halved. Because, you know, quality, optional, I suppose. And also, the head of family and child safety is also leaving. So that's, you know, nice, cheery stuff. I suppose they can replace that with an AI.
Hey, wait, hold on. I'm going to check something here. Forza Horizon 5 does not have a specific end date for its licensing mentioned in the available information. However, it is noted that Forza Horizon 4's DLC was delisted from digital platforms on December 15th, 2024 due to expiring licenses. So this is a thing that's going to happen to Forza Horizon 5, guaranteed. They're going to pull it whenever the licensing expires. And I believe that they completely pulled for Forza Horizon 4, not just the DLC. I'm pretty sure they completely pulled it. Look at that. Would you look at that? Bundle is not available. You can't buy the Ultimate Edition. Okay, let's go back. Let's try the Standard Edition. Bundle is not available. How about that? How wouldn't you love to fucking see that shit? It's listed here, but you can't buy it. You can't buy it. Xbox Play Anywhere, it says. You can play it anywhere. How? How am I supposed to play it if I can't get it? It's ridiculous. How about this? How about this? Forza Horizon 5 and 4 in a bundle. How about that? Bundle is not available. Oh, would you look at that? I just don't trust Xbox. That's some actual fucking garbage shit. Get that out of here, man. Licensing expires, so you can't buy the game anymore. Incredible.
Fine. Then marketing and community support layoffs have been reported on World of Warcraft, on ZeniMax, Bethesda stuff, and of course, there's many more layoffs that will not be reported as full layoffs because they were like with contractors whose work won't be renewed. And this stuff really does blow. Even an example in, say, World of Warcraft, one of the things that their social media team did over the last few years is basically work out how to connect with the people, like make memes, stuff, you know, on social content that actually kind of ingratiated themselves to the community. It's a sort of thing that, you know, only the internal team could actually do. But now we found out it's all just going to be outsourced, so I'm sure it'll just be sauceless slop. Lovely. But it's not the end. Developer layoffs hit Undead Labs, the Overwatch team, and...
Whoa, what'd that say about State of Decay 3? That was a game I was actually excited for. Hold on.
Lovely.
Hold on,
but
what was
it's not
that?
the end. Developer...
Hearing State of Decay 3 studio Undead Labs has layoffs, not yet clear how widespread. The meetings are showing up on people's calendars on a rolling basis. Ooh, that's not good. I love State of Decay 1 and 2. Maybe this is gonna be a good thing for State of Decay 3, but I don't think so. This might be bad. Oh shit. And you know what? I don't care that much. I'll just play a different zombie game.
Layoffs hit Undead Labs, the Overwatch team, and King, who have lost 200 people. And then there's Call of Duty. Even COD wasn't safe here. So High Moon, Sledgehammer...
I think COD is their most bloated company that they have.
And Raven have all taken hits, which I've got to say is absolutely wild because they've appeared to be the studios who have been thrown into awful development situations of basically, hey, we need a yearly COD. It's basically a bit screwed. Please go fix it so we get something. That even those teams are being hit on, I mean, COD, like one of the largest like franchises or properties on Earth.
Not for much longer, I think. I think that people are getting really tired of it. Especially when I started seeing the Beavis and Butthead stuff, where it just didn't make sense that those characters were in Call of Duty. Like, people are getting tired of the weird nonsense where it's like kind of trying to be Fortnite with how many licensing deals and how many characters there are in it. And when all those licenses run out, it's just gonna be gone. They're gonna pull Call of Duty because of licensing deals. And they keep doing this. They keep doing these licensing deals, and then like 10 years later, you're not able to buy the game.
Kind of crazy. Next then, Turn 10, who are the creators of Forza Motorsports. Well, they're not having a nice time. Now, they've had 2 decades of specialized experience on racing games, and now they've been
a huge fan of Forza Motorsport. I like Forza Motorsport more than I like Forza Horizon. Unfortunately, Forza Horizon is more of an arcade game and makes a lot more money, and they can pump microtransactions and car packs better into that one because people just aren't going to be buying car packs for Forza Motorsport because it's too boring looking of a game. There's no flex.
Been halved. Yes, halved. 70 people, half the studio are gone. And to season that wound with some lovely salt and vinegar, well, it's kind of their fault because Forza Motorsports turned into a live service, so I guess there's no need for sequels. Yep. So I guess, you know, we'll just...
It turned into a live service that nobody's really buying the live service of. So they were like, well, let's just pump everything into Forza Horizon and just completely kill Forza Motorsport, you know, the game that started it all.
Just throw all of that talent into the bin. Lovely. Of course, there's the other Forza stuff, Horizons, which comes from another studio called Playground. So,
yeah, Playground. They were the people who were working on Fable.
You might be wondering, why did all of this have to happen? Especially because, as Phil Spencer...
I think I got a little bit of an idea. I think I might know, guys. I think I might know what the problem was. You know? I think I have an idea.
Said Xbox is in the best position that it's been in flipping decades. Revenue, right? Revenue has spiked. It's spiked on a quarterly level. It's spiked on an annual level in the last few years. There's been regulatory changes that have been so in their favor. They basically mean they've just unlocked the mobile store that they've been trying to build. Just big for their business. They've done this whole shift, you know, that we've all seen to them being a third-party publisher. They're basically selling probably more games on PlayStation than Xbox now. The Switch stuff has also gone well. They've got constant bestsellers for old ports. They're publishing games on a near monthly basis. So with all of that, how can a company that's like boasting about all this success need to cut this deeply?
I think a big problem is Game Pass, because people aren't actually buying these games. They're just playing Game Pass, and that's kind of splitting up the money. You were like splitting up the money because somebody's not going to pay $80 for Oblivion Remaster or $50 for Oblivion Remaster if they can just play it for free on Game Pass that they're already paying for. And then the more games that they play, the more the money that they have gets split into all of these other games that they play. And it's kind of an unsustainable model.
The answer is simple. They didn't need to. They chose to. To understand all this, there's a very telling line in Phil Spencer's email to staff: follow Microsoft's lead. So it's basically Spencer framing it as part of Microsoft's overall reduction in management roles. Of course, the thing is, we've seen far more regular staff than managers get fired this week. And Xbox can come up with whatever business strategy they'd like to run their business. They can pivot to Game Pass, they can give up exclusivity, they can stick an Xbox logo on any bit of hardware that can possibly stream a game. But, you know, if Microsoft's AI business can have 22% growth of $4.5 billion last quarter, well, then Xbox needs to improve its own $270 million and 5% growth. It's not enough to just make the line go up. You've got to do better. And of course, a lot of people would say, yes, but look, whenever there's M&A, mergers and acquisitions activity, there will be duplicated roles across a company. Here's the thing. Removing that duplication can, in a very reductive sense, be good for that company, can be more efficient. Obviously, a lot of mission-specific skills will be lost, but it's actually far more inefficient. It's very bad for us, the customer. That's because those duplicated roles used to be competing against each other, which, you know, makes the market better for us as consumers. That's why, broadly, a lot of this M&A activity has been very, very bad. Now, Phil Spencer has certainly wanted to set up this whole narrative. That's because in Summer Games Fest, he was laying the groundwork. He talked about how, quote, we're accountable to Microsoft for running a good business, a healthy business that continues to grow at both top line and bottom line, before then going on to talk about trade-offs where some things would not be invested in anymore. You know, a fun statement, a bit of a sandwich.
Yeah, I don't understand people who can still be defending companies like Xbox and all the companies that are under Xbox and Microsoft at the top. I don't know how people can defend them because they are not passionate about anything except making more and more and more money for investors and executives, the suits. That's all this is all about. They don't actually care about us. They don't care about the product. They're not passionate about games. They are passionate about making the most money possible. All the money if they could.
Right, it's the meat, where, you know, one bit of bread was the April cuts, and the new bit of bread in this horrible sandwich is the July cuts that just happened. But clearly, Xbox leadership have been given their marching orders, you know, direct from Satya, the big man himself. And it seems those orders are that they need to cut massive numbers of their staff and their projects. Now, does this exonerate Xbox leadership from responsibility? No, it obviously doesn't. Being the central cog in a machine that's grinding up people in creative projects and, failing to serve customers, that, being a cog doesn't absolve you just because you didn't pull the lever. And that's especially because it's Xbox's own leadership decisions that seem to be responsible for a lot of the wreckage we've seen over the last few days. Like, if you look at the cancelled projects, each of them have been in development for far beyond what the regular scope of a game should be. I mean, several...
I think a huge problem that we got with these quadruple A games is they're trying to make them too detailed. And honestly, it still just looks like a cartoon. And we don't need all this detail. 10 times the detail. We don't need that. We're perfectly fine with going back and playing games like Call of Duty 4 and Halo 3. We don't really care. We just want good games. We don't really care all that much how it looks. We're not into gaming for the spectacle. We're into it for the fun.
Have been leaked as just suffering from a lack of direction, a lack of corporate structure, much like, as an example, the closing of Arcane Austin and all the stuff with Tango
Rare is getting to the point where it's getting rare that they release a good game.
Works. The decision basically seems to have been to cancel these projects based on how far they were to realistically shipping something. I'm almost surprised that Fable didn't get killed. And look, much like, say, with Arcane Austin's Redfall, which, was a bit of a lol cow of its time, these problems stemmed from the era where Xbox just didn't get involved with their studios, right?
I'm gonna call it now. I think that Fable is probably gonna get canceled. It's either going to get canceled or it's going to be absolutely fucking garbage. And they're just going to put it out because they're obligated to. But I can see it getting completely canceled. Like, they're going to can it. It doesn't sound like it's going to be good. It looked like there was a bunch of woke leftist freaks involved. And that doesn't lead to good game development. So far, it hasn't shown that it leads to good game development. It's a bad sign. Red flags all around.
Right? They just let their studios struggle on without support as projects stagnated. And it's kind of weird because they would almost boast, of, we're hands off. We're not going to get involved in their affairs. But what that actually seems to have translated to is people not having a clear goal. People not having clear management. And, it's very easy to be like...
Yeah, they got really hands off, and then the clear goal was... an agenda, a political agenda for freaks. And now it costs Xbox probably billions upon billions of dollars. And they didn't realize it until recently. And they were like, fuck, we got to get rid of all these people and we can't be hands off anymore because these people get in here. They have political agendas. They're activists. They put their ideology first and game second. And it's costing us billions. We got to do something. We got to shake off the rust.
Oh yeah, we're very hands-off and cool as bosses. But does that actually mean that you are giving up? You're not actually taking seriously your responsibility to provide, direction and clarity? Certainly seems to be the case. And certainly in recent years, they have pivoted. They have gotten more hands-on. Across the company, we've seen a few initiatives of just them sort of connecting their various teams together so they can actually share some talent. But this is it's too goddamn late. Obviously, just look at all...
Oh, hold on. We also talked to the Halo folks. They gave us a huge list of stuff and said, you guys should target this. You should add that to your weapon configurations. I'm not going to listen to anything that the Halo people have to say, and neither should Xbox and Microsoft, because this right here, you see that? This is the kind of company that Halo is. This is the kind of company that Halo Studios is. You're going to be listening to these people, the same people who say they don't like guns. They don't like shooters because they don't like guns, because guns are bad. It's the same people. Yeah, every time. Yeah, don't listen to these people. They're fucking retarded.
They can actually share some talent, but it's too goddamn late. Obviously, just look at all this. And now the devs who tried to make all of this stuff are, of course, paying the price. And the executives who made the decisions are obviously not being punished, because, Phil's still there, Sarah Bond is still there, Matt Booty's still there, because, their job is actually to preside over making large cuts and things like that. They're actually sort of paid to... not get punished in a way. It's very odd, but I think you can see how the funky corporate incentives do actually end up cutting that way. Of course, with all this going on, though, it's no wonder that staff have really had enough, and all of this led to significant unionization activity. In the months before these layoffs were confirmed, ZeniMax Workers United was actually given its union contract by Xbox. That was pretty big. Staff, once they got the contract, they ratified it, and according to GameFile, these staff are not immune to the layoffs, but, right? They are being protected, and they're being given a voice in the process, and that does actually help. At the very least, they are harder to lay off than people who are not in a union. So, those in the union cannot be summarily dismissed. Basically, the union gets to negotiate to try and save as many jobs as they can. Obviously, that can be contrasted with all of the staff across Xbox.
Dude, no, don't do it. It ain't worth it. Do not, just, if you get fired from Xbox, go somewhere else. It is not worth it. They are on fire. They are going to be a completely different company, probably going to get taken over by a bunch of weird suits. They're already taken over by a bunch of weird suits, but it's going to get even weirder. I don't see Xbox and Microsoft being around, at least in the same way they are now, for much longer. Especially with the rise in companies and governments all around the world switching off of Microsoft's stuff. They're getting rid of their applications, they're getting rid of their operating system and their computers. They're ditching it for Linux and open source stuff. And it's happening all the time. And Microsoft is absolutely getting decimated by it. To the point where they might just only have their business deals and the gaming segment left. And they can't survive with just those things.
Xbox who, woke up one day just to find out they were locked out of their systems before the workday had even ended. Lovely. And we know from various union efforts at Overwatch, at Bethesda, and at Warcraft that basically, protecting the people who make the games that we actually want to play, that was the primary reason to act. Microsoft still has to negotiate terms with the bargaining committees of those different groups. It's not all done, signed, and stuff yet. And they may not save everyone from this executive-led lovely gutting of these studios, but what those unions do actually do is give those staff a voice in how any bad news happens, and also it does protect them from bad leadership if things go wrong in the future. Given how Microsoft operate, which is obviously not in your interests or my interests, and also not in the developers' interests, I think those developers having more power is actually a good thing. Now, I understand, say, in the American context or in the British context, people will rightly have a big old discussion about the places of, the trade union movement. Were there oversteps in the past that made things uncompetitive? Was it actually something else that led to a deindustrialization, etc., etc., etc.? We can have that chat. The thing that matters, though, the most is a very simple way of, the triangles where it's the developers, the publishers, the players. It's easy to make two of those things be balanced. It's hard to make all three be balanced.
I think there is just this thing that Microsoft keeps doing, and all of these companies keep doing, where they just fuck everybody to make the most amount of money possible, and every time they do stuff like this, it creates more and more of a divide. And, they might be able to talk more and more people to be involved in their product, but then when they hurt those people fall off immediately, because they're like, shit, I made the wrong decision. And then other companies start figuring out the problems that they're having and start fixing their problems. Everybody starts gravitating towards those companies because, hey, we're like Microsoft, but without all the Microsoft bullshit. And everybody's like, hey, yeah, I like that. Like Linux. Linux used to be harder to use than Windows. People used to hate Linux because, nothing would work how they wanted it. But now Windows is like that. And it's bloated, and it doesn't work how people want it, and they make a lot of shitty decisions. And it's full of AI. And Linux is just a basic operating system, and that's what people want. They just want to play games, and they want to surf the internet, and that's it. They don't want to be interrupted every 10 minutes. Hey, you want to buy this product? Hey, you want to buy this subscription? Hey, how about this app? You want to use this app? And you go into that app, and it's like, hey, you want to buy a subscription to this app? It's got AI built into it. Everything's got AI built into it. Oh, look at that, another pop-up. Oh, shit, a blue screen. I'm sorry. Oh, we changed the blue screen to black screen because blue screen was making people traumatized. So we had to change it because it was a problem. So we changed it to a black screen. Like, fucking shit decision after shit decision, man.
Right now, it's obviously all in the publisher's favor. I think the more developers have got power, well, the more that's actually in line with our interests. And you may say, oh, it was only the Warcraft social team who got the boost. They don't matter! It's just PNGs that they make! Outsource it! AI, the image. No, those
Contracts.
people do actually matter to your best interests if you're, say, a World of Warcraft player, because they were really good at reaching the community. They were really good at marketing. And funnily enough, if you're a player of a game, it's actually in your interest that that game is well marketed by people who are actually passionate about marketing that game, not by some random company who has just got an outsourcing gig. So even in those things where you could say, oh, but it's not the core development team, no, it
Outsourcing, though, at least you got a team behind it that's, like, cohesive. It's better than, like, what they did with Halo, where they contracted people to come into the company, and then when the contract is over, just forget about all these people, and then do another contract team, and, you know, a bunch of people get involved, and then they forget about all those people. There's no cohesiveness around it. So the new thing doesn't feel like the old thing because it's all different people and they're not passionate about it. Like, it's just gonna keep getting worse.
It actually does still matter humongously. And that whole thing of saying core development team, that often
By the way, anybody who's gonna argue with me and say, no, actually it's going to get better. Xbox is getting better. Xbox is fucking awesome. No, I said it was gonna get worse. It got worse. And then when it got worse, I said it's gonna get worse again. It got worse again. And I said it was gonna get worse again. And it got worse again. And I think that it's gonna get worse again. You know, all the time with these people.
pits developers against QA, against support. And the reality is, it takes a hell of a lot of people to pull off a game right. And if all you have is game developers, then congratulations. You probably won't have that many sales, because
yeah, you know where we go from here? We either do get bigger and better, make bigger and better things, and then you'll have to make bigger and better things than those bigger and better things, and then you'll have to make bigger and better things than those bigger and better things. Eventually, you can't keep making bigger and better things. It does not work like that. It has never worked like that, and it's not gonna work like that.
You do need customer support, QA, marketing, and all those things to make a game happen. The future then. 2026 marks Xbox's 25th anniversary, and at the last showcase, Big Phil Spencer promised a big celebration event. He teased the return of Gears, of Forza, wonder how that'll happen, of Fable, of Halo. And in his memo to staff during these layoffs, the studio head Matt Booty promised that the company had more than 40 projects in development. But in this environment, where your game can have a gameplay demo at the Xbox showcase in 2024 and then just be cancelled a year later, why would developers trust that Microsoft will give them security?
Why would players trust in Microsoft to actually deliver them good games?
Why would players believe anything that they don't have in their hands?
True.
And
I already don't. I don't. Because I've been burned so many times. Mostly by Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk was the big one for me. And people who are glazing Witcher 4, like saying that game's gonna be the best game ever, incredible, is gonna just make waves. And they like hate on me and insult me because I think that it's gonna be an absolute disaster. Like, what the fuck are you people on? What are you doing? Have you not seen the track record? Oh, this one's going to be different than literally every game that they've ever released? I don't think so.
And that's the thing. If you're always short-term optimizing, you know, for the quarter, maybe you'll lose sight of the big...
I know that I keep bringing up Cyberpunk and Witcher. They're not Xbox titles, but like, it's the same kind of shit. Same type of companies. They're all the same. Not passionate about games. Passionate about making money and cutting corners. And putting identity politics in there. Agenda first, game second.
Big picture. Maybe you'll just see the numbers as numbers, and you won't realize that those numbers are a result of a relationship that you cultivate with your customers. Because if you catch a customer, what's their lifetime value? I've been playing World of Warcraft for a very long time. My lifetime value's in the thousands. You know, if you lose me, I mean, how many companies would kill to have customer lifetime values that are that high?
Yeah. Borderlands, literally played through every single Borderlands, bought all the DLC for every Borderlands, and then they burn the fans like me. Like, what are you doing? You were creating a divide. You're trying to garner a new audience and get rid of your old audience because your old audience was problematic. Like, what? These fucking companies, the executives are fucking stupid.
And that is the sort of just not understanding the big picture and just playing the short-term game that is really going to damage this industry. And more, it's not that I advocate people check out indie games because I just have a hatred for things with a big budget and a lot of glitz and glam. No, absolutely not. I love the big budget stuff too. It's just quite simply the point. I don't think that's where we should, I don't think that's the horse we should be betting on, because
I'm fine with games that have big budgets and big teams and they're going to be quadruple A, as long as the people are passionate about making the game that they are making and they're not focused on making as much money as possible and are actually willing to lose some money on the game that they're making. And not thinking that it's going to be an astronomical success. Return to form, 10 out of 10. Look at all these new game mechanics that they've implemented that were actually in the games in 2012. Garbage. These companies, they're so fucked, man.